Hey guys, Mr. OG here. In this video, I'll be doing my best to cover Poppy Playtime Chapter 3. From cryptic VHS tapes to dangerous new enemies, this chapter is an overall favorite for horror fans everywhere. We'll be telling the story at a surface level. Now settle in, grab your chips or popcorn, and let's get right into it. The opening commercial for Deep Sleep is for a new line of Playtime toys called the Smiling Critters. A group of colorful animals are having a sleepover on a windy night and can't sleep. Then a purple cat known as Catnap appears, releases a red gas, all the animals start having an uncontrollable and disturbing scene of laughter, then the scene cuts to everyone being asleep, except Catnap. A news anchor describes how Catnap has been reported to cause nightmares and how Playtime has recalled the toy and tried to make it disappear in all their marketing. Our protagonist awakes from the train crash in the previous chapter and finds themselves being dumped in a trash chute by none other than Catnap. In the trash room, the walls are quickly closing in, so we have to climb some trash to escape a gruesome death. Making our way through the moving platforms, we arrive at a balcony platform and head inside a red door. Eventually, we make our way to a room where Miss Harper describes a girl known as Marie and her experience with the red smoke.
I know, but dilated pupils and quivering lips, the way her eyes darted around the room, and I swear, her hand in mine, it felt like her blood was boiling beneath her skin.
Afterwards, a cutout of Bubba Bubbaphant says he remembers us, but before he can say what he recalls, his recordings cut out to a scream of horror. A phone can be heard buzzing in the distance, and when picking it up, a child's voice can be heard on the other line. He offers us assistance by sending us a battery to continue our journey. The caller begins to apologize on Poppy's behalf for not letting us escape, and goes into detail about how Playcare is where Catnap lives and thrives. He finishes the call by introducing himself as Ollie. Making our way through a destroyed metro station, Kickin' Chicken's cutout can be found with a similar fate to the elephants. We board a rail car and are played a speech by Elliot Ludwig, where he describes his reasoning for starting Playcare, an orphanage ecosystem to raise children and to make them smile. The speech is inspiring, passionate, and heartwarming, but once it's over and the doors open, we find mangled toys and a blood-splattered floor. As we descend to the center of the dome, Ollie calls us again and tells us that underneath the statue's center, we can find a generator that powers all of Playcare. Downstairs, we find an abandoned electrical control room and step towards a tube that Ollie has used to deliver us a key. Next, we are tasked with entering the gas production zone. The doors to its entrance covered in claw marks. The gas production zone is comprising of 3 massive containers in the center and a control system in front. Finding Catnap's cutout, we hear what appears to be the heavy breathing of an animal sleeping. Stumbling upon a Playtime training VHS tape, we're introduced to the Grab Pack 2.0, which consists of a new purple hand that allows the user to get launched in the air at certain jump points. After restoring the power, we restart the gas machine and have it cut off before we're able to reroute the red smoke. Ollie calls us again to inform us that he sent another key to allow us to unlock the Home Sweet Home building in order to start rerouting power to restart the gas production machine. Once inside the Home Sweet Home, we're exposed to an overwhelming amount of red smoke. Once through the cloud, we find a downward staircase that extends into a long, creepy hallway. At the end of the corridor, we find a radio replaying a recorded message that reveals a dark truth. A deceased boy was found at the estate of Elliot Ludwig's home in a duffel bag, missing its organs. Another radio describes Playtime's reaction to the discovery, denying everything that happened and looking forward to clearing his good name. Ollie calls us and tells us we need to run, leading us to a radio that questioned Elliot Ludwig's neighbors who claimed he would arrive at home at strange hours of the night. The hallways become darker and more mangled by claw marks as another radio message plays out a message that is playing in reverse that can't be made out. We come to a room where we're playing a red VHS tape that unleashes a nightmare version of Huggy Wuggy through the TV screen. After being caught in his clutches, we awake to discover that it was all a bad dream. Further inside, we only hear static coming from the Longlegs family cutouts, signaling that none of them may be alive. Obtaining a gas mask from the wooden ledge, we're able to venture deeper. avoiding catnap in the hallways and playing a VHS tape foreshadowing experiment 1322. The subject in question being named Kevin, but the log scientist is interrupted by a boy named Joseph, who is wondering what happened to Kevin. The scientist plays it all off and sends the boy back to bed. Later, our protagonist finds a secret room with Kissy Missy inside. She's longingly staring at the photo of a little girl who could be implied to be her friend or her former self. A VHS tape titled Samuel Lee's Last Day describes the situation where Dr. White has chosen a child named Samuel Lee to leave the children, and a caretaker comes and gives him a final goodbye, and all the children cheer as he's chosen to become an experiment. Of course, the children aren't aware that he's going to become an experiment, but he's sent away anyways. After completing some power restoring puzzles, we make our way outside the building and are pinned down by none other than Kissy Missy. Poppy stops her from hurting us and goes on to explain her reasoning for her actions in Chapter 2, talking about the prototype being the original experiment and everyone else being his disciples that are hurting people. Poppy continues to express her interest in helping us kill the prototype in order to free everyone. We restore the dome's backup power and are then tasked by Ollie to connect a cord from Home Sweet Home's porch the generator underneath the statue. Ollie then sends us another key with the idea that we will be restoring the power in the school as well. Once inside, Ollie warns us that he may not be able to connect with us on this side of the dome. And sure enough, the call cuts out and a female's voice can be heard on the intercom. Miss Delight proceeds to exclaim that she recognizes us as an old Playtime worker, wondering how we're even alive. Making our way through a classroom, we find a yellow recording that follows Miss Delight's conversation with her weapon she calls Barb. She ultimately expresses her disappointment in trying to uncover the whereabouts of the children in order to kill them all.
Probably because he knew I'd kill them all.
After restoring the power, a mangled up, blonde Miss Delight character quickly bashes it back off, and an intense chase sequence ensues, Miss Delight only being able to move when she is out of our line of sight. Eventually, we pull a lever to bring down a steel door, causing Miss Delight to break into a full sprint only to be crushed underneath, ending her reign of terror. We acquire the flare gun for our grab pack, allowing us to shoot flares to light up the darkness. A Stuart and Richie tape is found next, revealing Stuart's interest to have Richie replace him when he decides to retire, showing the progress Rich has made from a disgruntled Playtime worker in Chapter 1 to a demoted employee in Chapter 2 to a candidate for a major promotion in Chapter 3. Maneuvering through the caves, we find Catnap's shine for the prototype, gaining a concept as to what his appearance may be like. Heading back into the facility, we're immediately targeted by a small smiling critter and are forced to shoot our flare gun to scare it away. Under a tent, we find Catnap's check-in tape where Leith Pierre is interviewing Catnap, revealing his experiment number as 1188 and his real name as Theo. Catnap doesn't say a word to any of his comments except that the prototype will save us, in which Leith seemingly mocks him and tells him to get used to his new life at Playcare, watching over the kids because nobody's coming. Maneuvering through playrooms with many rabid smiling critters, we uncover Catnap's lair known as the Lion's Den. Right outside the den, our protagonist finds a bigger body's experiment of Dog Day. Dog Day is chained up and missing the lower half of his body. He calls us Poppy's angel and tells us there's nothing to save in Catnap's domain. He lets us know that he's the last of the smiling critters before having dozens of rabid mini critters take control of his body, and a chase sequence in the play tubes ensues, ultimately ending with the player using the purple hand to bounce over a pit and ride a rising platform away from Dog Day. Riding a slide, we make it back outside in front of the playhouse. Ollie calling us again to let us know that Catnap was saved by the prototype before, and now he views the prototype as almost a god. The incident in question risking the prototype's freedom in order to save Catnap before he became Catnap. Tasking us with going to the counselor's office, Ollie warns us to be careful. as Catnap is always stalking his prey from the shadows before attacking. Inside the counselor's office, we play an emergency alert issued on August 8th, 1995 at 11 a.m. It begins by giving instructions on evacuating and evading the potential hostile threats, but is cut off halfway through to display the message, "Open the doors now. The hour of joy has arrived." After completing some puzzles and arriving at another office, we're informed about the Hartman incident, where some prospective parents were looking to adopt an orphan, but the orphan was sent to testing already. Wanting answers, the couple becomes justifiably angry with Stella Greiber, as she says she doesn't know what happened to him, but he's no longer available for adoption. Later, we're carrying a battery through the red smoke with a gas mask on when we're suddenly attacked by Catnap. He knocks us into a room so hard our mask comes off and a shelf falls over the doorway, blocking Catnap from entering. We pass out into a cryptic hallucination where we have Poppy's voice in our head as we're recalling past events at the company, ultimately ending with a vision of Huggy Wuggy and screams heard in the distance. Then the prototype's hand reaches for us as we awake to the ringing of a phone. Catnap warns us that we have to leave Playcare now or he's going to come after us. Outside, we reroute the counselor's power and reach 96% on the generator. Ollie decides we should also reroute the Skydome's power to reach 100%. Once doing so, our hero acquires a massive blue battery pack to restart the gas production zone. Just before placing the battery inside its slot, Catnap appears and we drop the battery as the room is quickly covered in the red smoke. We hallucinate Catnap as a colorless, demonic-looking figure and make a break for a rising elevator, just narrowly avoiding the Catnap abomination. Arriving upstairs, we arrive at what Poppy calls a panic room, where we must constantly use our Grandpack's flare to determine if a hallucination is real. We must also switch batteries out to power different parts of the room, parkouring whenever necessary. We even have to make sure Catnap doesn't appear overhead. As the potential entrances grow and more hallucinations appear, the game becomes increasingly more difficult. Once the timer hits 0 on a station we're charging up, we overload our green hand with electricity to the point where it's almost an electric missile we end up shooting at Catnap. The electricity has Catnap flaming up and rolling over in pain until the hand of the prototype appears, ending his suffering. The prototype ends up pulling his body up into the vents. Ollie congratulates us on taking down Catnap. We proceed to charge up the gas production zone and reroute the red smoke. Regrouping with Poppy in one room over, she shows us the events that transpire during the hour of joy. In the tape, we see security camera footage of all the experiments attacking tourists and workers at Playtime, ultimately killing everyone in sight. They kill the innocent and the guilty, and Poppy vows vengeance against the prototype for orchestrating the event. Kissy Missy appears to set Poppy into a lift that requires someone to stay behind and pull the lever. Once aboard, we begin to descend deeper, until we hear the cries of Kissy Missy as she's being attacked by an unseen enemy. Poppy attempts to reverse the lift's trajectory, but that's when Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 comes to a conclusion. These videos take a lot of effort to make. If you thought the video was enjoyable, please support by smashing that like button, commenting your favorite part, and sharing it with a friend. I always love to read your comments and hear about what you guys think. GG's boomers, and thanks for watching.